Hey everybody, Joe here from Team Carver Customs. Now, through a lot of you guys subscribing and following my videos, I've received a ton of questions about my gun and the rig that I choose to run, and among other really good questions. And I figured I'd just go ahead and answer them all in one quick video and handle it that way. Let's start with my gun, and we'll go ahead and clear here, safety first. This is a Bobby Carver customs build, and it's built with Carver, SJC, and Zev / Glockworks parts. To start overall gun here, we're looking at a 17 upper and a 22 lower. The SJC Big Mouth Magwell. Put that thing through a beating. Unfortunately, my reloads aren't spot on all the time. We do have the SJC mount, and one of the main questions that I get is, you shoot for Bobby, why don't you run Bobby's mount? And a simple answer to that is limited availability for holsters. I personally don't like the CR Speed, and that is the holster that is most compatible with Bobby's mount. Bobby's mount, I feel, is a great design, very stoutly built, but I like the SJC just because it lets me run the holster that I run with, and we'll get into that in just a second. But when it comes to the SJC mount, I did make a few modifications with it, with a fine steel file. Really, a lot of the modifications came right into here. And you can see that it is not the same shape that SJC sells it in, and that's just to give me a little bit more clearance through here for the ejection. When I first got one and first had it, the brass had a tendency to bounce off of this or catch right here, so I filed down a little bit of it, not a lot, but a little bit, and relieved that problem. I also filed up under here as well, just getting it nice and smoothed out, or making it more clearable, I guess you could say. I do run a Seymour. A lot of guys have asked what I have against RMRs or STSs or loopholes, and I don't have anything against them at all. It's just not my preference. Sight glass is a lot bigger right here, more target area, helps with the peripherals, and I like this better. It is the normal size. It's not, or the normal switch. It is not the click switch. I do run a 4-port. Sorry, it's dirty. I do run a 4-port Carver comp. Very efficient. It does work well with the slower burning powders, and 9mm major guns have a tendency to, especially the polymer based, do not have it. They don't have a tendency to like slow burning powders. Auto comp is a medium burning powder, and it works well out of this. I prefer Silhouette or 3N37, which gives you a lot more gas volume. But the 3N37 and Silhouette really works well out of this. You've seen my latest video, and that's what we're using in that video. Moving on here, I do have the Carver Customs slide racker right here. I did run an SJC at one point in time, and it just proved too big for me, for my needs. So I switched out and went with the lower profile Carver, and haven't looked back. I do run the ZevTech mag button. I found out the hard way when I was running the SJC that when I had to do a weak hand only, the large SJC button would cut my hand, cut me right in the webbing of my fingers, and that can get annoying. The cut can, at least. Even though I filed it down and smoothed off the edges, it still kind of got me. And you can see in here, I've actually smoothed down the edges of this particular one here. A lot of guys have noticed that I run a Zev trigger pad. And I do run a Zev trigger pad. Bobby built the trigger and the trigger group and then fit it to this gun. I like the post and over travel, pre-travel and over travel options with the Zev pad, and you couple that with Bobby's trigger grouping, and it works really well for me. Again, you've seen it in action in the videos. It will run faster than I can run it. that's just the end of that. This is, a lot of guys have asked me about my slide. This is a lone wolf slide, and the nose is tapered. And there is a notch in here for the sight, for the front sight mount in the event that you order one of these slides and want to turn it into a limited gun. And these come direct from Lone Wolf like this. This is not something that I had them do. The slide cuts I had Bobby do when he was building this, and there's really no purpose to having a slide cut on on your race gun other than to remove weight, let your slide cycle, you know, that much faster. There's many different types out there. Ask your gun builder for some examples. I know that ZebTech and ZebTech Glockworks are coming out with some very radical slide cuts, and they remove a ton of weight off their slides. I personally like this one. You can get to that point where you know, you just go too fast, and we never want to do that. We want to be fast and accurate. But with this thing, I like it. I like the feel, and it works well with my more violent powders like 3 and 3.7. This is a KKM precision barrel, 9mm match fit, and obviously it's threaded out the front. Guys have asked me about what striker I use. This is the Jaeger. Inside is the Jaeger skeletonized striker, reduced power spring, and I am running a 13-pound spring. When I run minor, usually I'll run a 11, maybe a 10-pound spring, like when I'm shooting steel or whatnot. Other than that, that's pretty much the gun itself. Let's go on. I've had a lot of questions about the rest of my rig that I run. I do run the Taylor Freelance full Delrin extended. This is the +8. This is your 140mm limited division legal +5. Guys ask me all the time, why do you run 9 major instead of 40 or 357 SIG? And there's two reasons for that. One is price. The reloading components for a 9mm are a lot cheaper than 357 SIG or 40 cal. And the second is capacity. I can squeeze a lot more rounds into this. I can run 28 unreloadable, or 28 reloadable and 29 unreloadable out of this, and as opposed to the max I'm going to get into a 40 cal magazine is going to be roughly about 25, that kind of thing. A lot of guys have asked me if I tune the mags in any way. I do armor all these. That's just to smooth it out and give it a little bit of lubrication. So I'll get some armor all. I'll wipe the entire mag tube down. I'll let it sit for a day, and then I'll come by with a clean cloth or a clean towel, and I'll wipe them clean so that whenever I drop my mag, I'm not picking up a handful of dirt with it. And I do this maybe once a month just to keep them textured and keep them nice and lubed up. Some guys do it, some guys don't. It works for me. It's just how I run. Moving on to my mag, here to my rest of my belt here. I do run the Manny Bragg Universal Shooting Academy holster. A lot of you guys have seen this for the 2011, and that's their futuristic with the magnets and whatnot. Obviously we can't do that with the Glocks. So their solution to the front end securing of the nose of the gun is these two notches right here for your light rail. And here's a better frontal shot of it. A lot of guys have said, you know, this is an ugly holster. Well, you know, I don't really put much stock in how good a rig looks. I care how it runs. With this, it really works for me, and I'm going to demonstrate some of the things that I like about it, as I've been asked to do so. When it comes to the gun, light rail, and it slides in, and we're locked. Now, I do not have the lock lever here. I do not have that engaged. 2 fingers, effortless. There's no resistance whatsoever on my upward motion with this. If I really wanted to, I don't know if I without dropping it. One finger, and we're good to go. Now, the one thing that caught me off guard when I first got it, and but wasn't a deal breaker, I got used to it, was the Manny Bragg is not a double outlet style or CR speed style retention block, and it does wobble. It wobbles big time, you know. So some guys, it puts some guys off, some guys it doesn't. I don't really notice it when the buzzer goes off. Again, with the locking pin disengaged. That last one was a real good hit. It is secure. It's not going anywhere. When I click it all the way down and that's fully locked, I mean, we're upside down, way good to go. It's not going anywhere. It is a very secure holster. You get past this, then it's something that I really like about it. Don't forget the fact that it is highly, I mean, infinitely adjustable. The only thing that I changed on this, honestly, was this bottom plate here. I reversed this. It does not come this way from Manny. So it was, the block itself is actually back here. When you first order one and you first get it, it's back here. I like drawing out in front. When it comes to mine, I like mine right about here, and that does leave me legal as far as the 2-inch rule to the inside of the belt. But it also puts my gun more out in front of me, which is where I prefer to draw. My hands naturally relax here, so when I need to go up and do a draw, there I am. So for me, out in front, and the holster slid back and tilted back this way along this axis, that's what works for me, and I can come out of this thing pretty fast. But that's how I train with it, and that's what I like. Moving on to the mag pouches, I run Guga Rebus. I thoroughly like these. They're one size fits all. I actually got some for my buddy who shoots a 2011, and there's no adjustments for that, no spacers needed, anything like that. It'll run any magazine, obviously with the exception of single stack, but they do provide spacers in with it. You don't buy those separately. Tension spring, and these blocks here, these front plates are spring loaded, so as you decrease on the knob, this automatically slides out with, and you're pretty much good to go. What I really like, and where the real meat and potatoes is for me on this thing, is this swivel joint underneath, and that's in out 360-degree rotation. I really enjoy those. One guy asked, he said, I thought I saw some Velcro inside your mag pouches, and he did. Good eyes. I run these. This is just your normal, you can get these at Walmart, Target, whatever you want, and I run these on the inside of the plates. It's just better security for me. This is a double alpha belt, and that's that. So that's my rig, and I hope I've answered the questions that have been posed to me. If you would like for me to expand on something or a specific area where I didn't fully answer your question, please feel free to send me a message. I'll be happy to answer your questions. And you know, other than that, you know, we'll see you at the range. Have fun and be safe.